Hey, it's Jason from Pro Guitar Studio. Today we take a look at a piece of music that's going to focus on palm muting. Now, what we're doing here is specifically working on palm muting on and then taking the palm mute off. So it's a pretty difficult technique. This started out as a piece that I was like, okay, I want to write something that sounds a little bit like ACDC. Not that it sounds like ACDC in the end, but this led me to the palm muting thing. Now this is used in many styles of music where we're palm muting on and off, so it gives you a bit of dynamic control, especially if you're playing electric guitar with distortion. A lot of times the sound is compressed, right? So it has a very similar sound as you're playing chords, whether you strum hard or soft. So the palm mute really helps bring it in, rein it in a bit, so we can lower the dynamic level. And then when we want to take the palm mute off, we bring it out a bit. So the notes that aren't palm muted tend to stick out, and the notes that are palm muted give us a nice punchy tone, right? So let's dive right in, take a listen to the piece we're going to learn today. And you'll notice that I'm actually wearing a Band-Aid on my middle finger. So I cut my middle finger. I can't play on the tip of that finger. So let this be a lesson to everyone. If you have an injury like that, where it's a temporary injury, just try to play around it. Don't think you can't play guitar for that moment in time. You'll see as I go through the video, I'm just using different fingers than I normally would. And I'll explain that afterwards. So you'll see me, instead of using my middle finger, I'll be using my ring finger. Don't let something like this hold you back. Okay, so let's take a listen right here. All right, so now that we've heard the piece we're going to play today, let's just dive right in and talk about the technique. And like I said before, it's not going to be easy. It's not an easy thing to do, but it's in so many styles of music. It's great to get a handle on. So let's take a look here. The first thing I'm doing is playing an A5 power chord. Okay, so the open A string, second fret on the D string, second fret on the G string. And I'm using my index finger to bar this. Now, like I said before, my middle finger, I have a Band-Aid, I can't play on that finger today. So I'm going to be using my ring finger and my index, and I don't think I even throw the pinky finger in this particular exercise, but usually as I go through it, I would be using my middle finger, and I'll show you where I would use that middle finger. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm going to basically play the first note, those three strings with no palm mute, but then I'm going to jump back down and palm mute it. So if you haven't done a palm mute before, we need to take the side of our palm of our hand out here, the outer edge of that palm, and touch the strings right where they meet the saddle, right within that first half a centimeter, right there. If it comes too far in, it's not a good sound, right, if I bring it back. But right here at the end, you want to find that sweet spot where it dampens the sound, not like this where it's like there's no dampening, right here. And for those of you with the Floyd Rose, getting used to placing your hand properly, because if I come over here, takes it out of tune. So I know when I first started with the Floyd, trying to get used to where I could place my hand so it wouldn't affect that, that wouldn't push down too hard, right? So you don't want to bend the strings out of tune. So I'm going to no palm mute, then a palm mute, and then no palm mute. So try to get this rhythm going. We're basically open, palm mute, open, open, palm mute, open, open, palm mute. Not an easy thing to do, right? So to come off and on. So even at first, we want to start with like, because if you don't know how to palm mute yet, it's going to be tough to add this in. So you could also, if you find that awkward, just go like, without the palm mute and learn this piece without that, okay? But the whole point here of this lesson today was to get that alternating palm mute, like dampening on and off. So I've moved my sort of arm in and out of that palm mute stance. Okay, so this rhythm is going to be played over these chords here, which if you don't have a handle on the palm mute thing, just leave it. We're going to go from 2 and 2 on the 3rd and 4th string. So really it's a 1, 2, 3, but with the palm mute. Then we're going to switch to the open A string, the 4th fret on the D, and the 2nd fret on the G. Essentially that's a D over A. And I'm going to slide up to what's a G over A, so it's the 5th fret on the D string, 4th fret on the G string. Now, normally I'd use my middle finger there. It's just awkward for me to do that right now, especially with the Band-Aid, so I'm using my index just today, but you should use probably your middle finger there. Or you could use your middle finger on the 4th string, okay? So without the palm mute, easier to manage. So the first time through, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 3, 4, 4, and then 5. But with the palm mute, you see how hard this rhythm is, just trying to explain it, right? Now, for any students here at Pro Guitar Studio, if you look in your student account, under the premium content, you'll be able to see the tablature for this, which makes it a lot easier to follow through. Now, the second time through, we're going to hold on that G over A chord before we go back to the D over A. So when we get up, we're going to strum 3 extra times on the G over A, and then just twice on the D over A. Right, so slow it down. That's going to go again, so. Now notice at the very end when I go to switch, I won't include this necessarily when I walk through that rhythm, but I always, before I change chords, at the very end, do a really fast down-up strum. So instead of just doing all down strum, that helps mask my transition, okay? So really fast down-up, and that's not palm muted. You can do a bit of a palm mute too, though. Both work, okay? Okay, so that's the main rhythm. Now that rhythm will be applied to the next chord, which is essentially the same thing but on a D, okay? So we're going to bring our fingers down. Usually I would use the same fingers, so it's like a D chord, but we're not using the first string. Now I'm going to use index on string 3, ring finger on string number 2. And normally I'd probably I would still use these fingers, but I would switch differently afterwards. So I use my index and my ring, same rhythm, that's a D5 chord. The next chord here is a G over D. Third fret string 2, 4th fret string 3. So usually I use my middle finger there. Awkward right now though. So you can even do middle and ring. I can't do that right now, but you get the idea. So I'm doing this right here, index and ring. And I just switch my fingers just because of this here, right? Same rhythm here. Then I go to the 3rd fret string number 2 and 5th fret string number 3. So this changes the chord. Basically get a D7 shape in there. instead of the C over D, which would be here. So that changes the tone just a bit. Okay, so same rhythm, same thing applies on that exact chord, just moving those up. Like I said, use your middle and ring, middle and index, and then index and ring there. It'd be a lot easier. Totally would sound better, for sure. Now, that goes again, so you do it basically one time through. Back to original. And the ending here, I'm playing an E5 power chord, so the 6th string open with the 5th string 2nd fret. So down, 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 down. And I play a D5 chord, so back to what we were doing there, 2nd fret on the 3rd string, 3rd fret on the 2nd string. And I'm going to strum it once, and then mute, and then once I mute. And then the G chord that I go to is sort of like an ACDC G. So you just place one finger, your middle or your ring finger on the 3rd fret of string number 6, block out the 5th string. I'm going to do two strums there. So going through that, the main riff is repeated throughout the most of this, and the whole thing I want you to get is that palm muting thing. But without the palm mute, if you just want to work on it straight. Pretty cool progression too, but that palm mute really adds a lot of dynamic, right? Repeat it. Switch. Back there. So in the demo of this song, the full playing example, I do add the solo in, which basically uses the A major pentatonic for most of it. So you can play with that, jam out over that. And for students here, I'll include that backing track, so you can, if you want to improvise, A major pentatonic will be your best friend for this one. Yeah, so big thing here, palm muting on and off, so get used to it. Really gives you a really nice dynamic range, okay? And you can use that for songs like Bryan Adams Summer at 69. So bringing the dynamic up for those few accents that are in there, the couple accents in that progression, really adds a lot. So hope you enjoyed this. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this each week. And I'll be back next week for more.